Mike. Welcome back to the KellyCast at the KellyCast Studios, where we are celebrating the Buffalo Bills Week 14 win against the Kansas City Chiefs. The first game we haven't watched together since Halloween almost, where the Bills beat the Buccaneers.
And they also won that game?
They did, barely. How did you feel watching the Bills overcome the odds yesterday?
I felt angry at the end because I felt they didn't do enough, but I felt great that we sent Mahomes whining like a little you know what.
I do know exactly what you mean, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But before we talk about the officials, before we talk about the referees, before we talk about the Chiefs anymore, please, if you're watching, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, comment with us here. We are live with you guys, so you can give us your thoughts, your questions, anything like that. We'd love to help. We do know there's 2 football games going on right now, so viewership might be, not quite there, especially our boy Kevin watching the Packers game.
Yes, sir.
So we'll see. I want to start off with the players of the game, like the KellyCast knockout performances of the week. I remember when we created this segment, I was having so much fun with it, and then there were not any performances to commend after week 4 for the Buffalo Bills.
No, there really haven't been, not a whole ton. And we had a couple that we thought was nice this week, but still, again, not up to snuff for me.
Well, let's give the guys their due for beating the Kansas City Chiefs, who are now only 1 game ahead of the Denver Broncos in the AFC West. They are in danger of losing their division, losing home field advantage, and Patrick Mahomes has never, ever had to play a road game in the history of the NFL.
If you insist.
You want to ring the bell, Apollo?
All right. Ding, ding.
Via popular demand, the knockout performances this week at your 3-slot defensive end, A.J. Epineza, who was responsible for that early turnover. Of course, Josh Allen was going to make the list. I know it wasn't his 4-touchdown performance, but hey, solid game. And of course, number 1 this week, James Cook, over 140 all-purpose yards. You happy with that list, Mike?
I'm pretty happy with that list. I don't know. I mean, Josh Allen, does he really? What number did you have him at?
Number
2.
Number 2.
Why number 2? Tell me why number 2.
Well, we'll get to number 2 in a second. How about we start with number 3 here? A.J. Epineza on your screen right now. Hell of a year for Epineza. I don't know about you personally. I know my feelings on Epineza coming into the year were, hey, this guy might get cut in training camp because the Bills had so much talent at defensive end. Vaughn, Floyd came in, all these guys.
Right.
And I was kind of, really not high on Epineza, but he's really had a great year this year.
He has. I've been super happy with his play. I don't know what more you could ask out of a guy like that.
Exactly. I know what I could ask. Football gods, don't take our players away, please. He did leave due to a rib injury. He came back for 1 play. He was taken out again, doubtful to return, and did not return. So hopefully, AJ, you are home getting better and hopefully suiting up for our Bills again soon, because we need whatever we can get on that defense. Now, you ask about Josh Allen. You ask why he's in the number 2 slot, Mike, and it's a simple reason. He's Josh Allen. He's the quarterback of our football team, and he beat Patrick Mahomes for the 3rd time at Arrowhead, which nobody else has ever done.
That's okay. I'll take it. I thought I clearly wasn't based on his yards.
Okay.
We're used to over 300-yard Josh Allen, not 233.
Okay.
Yards.
Let's take a step back here and realize what this game was, right?
Right.
In the first quarter, the Bills go up 7. They end up taking a 14-0 lead. And all of a sudden, before the half, it starts to crumble like it always does. We go in, 14-7 going into the half, come back out, and, it's your annual 2023 Buffalo Bills who can't manage to get a stop on defense, and can't move the ball on offense. 3 and outs. All these screen passes, which I'll get to in a little bit with Joe Brady. I think Josh played a good game. That one interception, bonehead. It was a bonehead interception. I will say that right now. But I've been watching a lot of pieces on Josh Allen over the past few weeks. And this week in particular, somebody said Josh Allen has 17 more touchdowns than he has turnovers this year. So can we just pump the brakes on the turnover talk? I'm okay with it if it's leading to points for the Buffalo Bills. That's why Josh Allen is in your 2 slot this week.
I'll take it. I love it.
You better. Number 1 this week, he goes on the full screen graphic above our beautiful faces, Mike. But James Cook had a hell of a game. And I want to shout out Akeem Richens from Built in Buffalo for this, because I saw him tweet this. He's kind of being used in a similar way to Alvin Kamara. Like, he was very involved in the receiving game. Obviously, you see that he led the Bills in receiving with those marks right there. And I like it, man. I think Joe Brady is really getting the best out of James Cook. What have you seen from Cook this year? I believe he's 7th in yards now in the league.
Yeah, he's been a force to reckon with this year, and I just been
here for the ride.
Here for the ride, buddy. Here for the ride. No, I mean, I love watching Cook. I think he's developing into a nice player, and clearly he can catch the ball. So keep on keeping on.
Yeah, he's got the quickness. I don't know about the speed, but he's got the quickness in those short areas where, he gets yards. He averaged 5.8 yards per carry. Let me ask you this, Mike, because I wasn't here to watch the game with you. I'm sure you were worried during this game, right? You never felt like we had it in the bag, right?
Never. And when Mahomes had that much time at the end, and I understand the play got called back, but I was, damn it.
I used to be the angry one, dude. What happened?
You moved in. You ramped up that passion all over again.
Well, how about we go back to the Cincinnati playoff game? I was the one angry. You were sitting there just disappointed.
Yep.
How have we gotten from disappointed to anger?
I've had to pay a lot more attention. We started doing this thing.
Hey, shout out to my first teacher in Intro to Sportscasting. She told me that she was going to make me hate sports. And I said, I hate McDonald's. That's why I'm here. And, I still love sports to this day.
I love sports too, and you're making me hate sports because I have to pay super close attention. No, I'm kidding.
You're having the best time of your life.
Clearly, I'm getting more angry.
I love it.
I need to rehash therapy with my old guy.
I love it. Hey, who's in the chat below? Please let us know who's here. If you want to comment some questions for us, we're about to get into the referees and the officials and what went down at the end of the game. But before that, Mike, I want to take a look at Mr. Joe Brady and the game that he called. Here I have his numbers on screen for you. 42 passes to 28 carries, 3 sacks allowed, which I thought was pretty high because I have not been seeing Josh get hit, and I'll get into that in a second. 6 of 15 on third down, right around 50%. 1 turnover, obviously the boneheaded interception by Josh, and a time of possession of 35 minutes and 21 seconds, which was around almost 9 minutes more than the Kansas City Chiefs, which puts yourself in a great position. Which
is something that we don't see often from the Bills this year. This year's Bills, the time of possession has been not there.
Yeah, not to mention the Buffalo Bills played a very clean game, I believe being only penalized 4 times. So
was it only 4? It felt like more than that.
I believe it was 4. Let me take a look to just double check.
Maybe it all just happened.
Correct.
In
4
close.
4 penalties for 35, and the Kansas City Chiefs were penalized 7 times for 45. It just goes to show what penalties can do, and what better segue, Mike, than that to talk about Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, okay? And I want to start by saying this, okay? I hate the fact that every NFL fan today is talking about Patrick Mahomes and the referees.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're not talking about the fact that Josh Allen went into Arrowhead and won for the third time in a row. You're not talking about the fact that the Chiefs are 34-7 against opponents that are not the Buffalo Bills in their house during Patrick Mahomes' career, but against the Buffalo Bills, they're 0-3 against Josh Allen. They're not talking about that because they all want to talk about this ticky-tacky call, right? Can we go back for a second? I've been seeing a lot of people do this, Mike. I want to take you back to the Super Bowl in February. Eagles and Chiefs.
Yep.
Juju's running. You see Bradbury tug on the jersey just a bit. And I believe we both said, you can't call that in this moment, right?
Right. Absolutely. But this wasn't one of those moments. This was week 14 in Arrowhead, and the refs explained afterwards that it was so egregious they couldn't even see the ball.
Yep.
You also explained to me that you went back and had to watch it, and yeah, he did see if he was there, but he never turned his head to look at the ref to get the okay.
Correct.
So there's a few things wrong with that.
There's a lot of things wrong with it. I mean, let's start with the fact that Kadarius Toney has been a mistake for the Kansas City Chiefs, just in general, since being traded for them by the New York Giants. He's just been dropping passes. We know from week 1 against Detroit. He's been doing it all year. He had another drop in this game, and then obviously the costly penalty. But the reason I want to take you back to the Super Bowl, Mike, is because they do make that call. They do call that holding on James Bradbury, and it does end up giving the Chiefs the victory in the Super Bowl. And people want to say, and I'm one of them. I'm one of them who said it. You can't make the call in that game. But the more I can sit and ponder it, it's like you kind of have to. If it's affecting, which it did affect his ability to go for the ball. It affected him, and that's what happened. My problem is with Patrick Mahomes. Like, that's where my problem lies, because he wants to blame the officials for his player being offsides. Because through all this complaining, this whining that's been going on in Kansas City, there's not been a single person, not Reid, not Mahomes, not McKinnon, not Kadarius Toney himself. I haven't even heard from him. I don't know if he spoke yet. Who have said that he was onside. They think that because this play was so cool and so unbelievable, that because of that, we don't call a flag on it.
I think that's most people who do actually have a problem with this. I think that is most of the people's problem, exactly what you just mentioned.
But that's not how it works, right?
Right.
And the way I would describe it to you is if Travis Kelce is running a go route and he pushes Micah Hyde to the ground as hard as he can, and he jukes a defender and he jumps over another one and he flies into the end zone, they're going to call something, right? It doesn't matter that he did all that kind of stuff. If he pushes this guy who's covering him to the ground, that's pass interference. That's offensive pass interference. It's going to be called. Every player has had calls go against them. For Patrick Mahomes to act this way was immature. Now, I'm not going to go as far to say that his character is ruined. I'm not going to go as far to say he's a terrible guy, because I did mention to you today he came out and he did apologize. And he did mention, I don't want to quote verbatim, but I do know one of the things he said was he regretted the way that him and Josh spoke at the end of the game. If you haven't seen it, please check it out on social media, because we've seen Josh at his lowest moments. And what does he do? He goes in there. He's a good sport. He's a man about it. And he takes ownership of, hey, we played a great game. And you didn't get that from Patrick Mahomes this game. And that's a real shame.
You still got it from him after this game. He was like, been there, buddy. Been there.
Exactly. and it's a real shame, because Patrick Mahomes is a role model for so many people. No matter if he wants to be or not, he is. And he needs to understand. And he does, because, again, he came out with a statement today. I just hate it. It's heat of the moment stuff.
But they all do it, and that's just part of the nature of the game. Yeah,
they don't all do it.
Yes, they do. But I mean, Brady's done it. I mean,
Brady's a whiner too.
All the greats are whiners. Sidney, take it a different sport. Sidney Crosby, he's a whiner, the biggest whiner in the game. I mean,
okay, but that's not what I like about football is whiners.
Oh,
That's not what I like
nobody
about
likes
sports.
it. It's just something it's something for us to talk about when they do stuff like that. But
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to be talking about the fact right now that the story of this game is that Patrick Mahomes wants to say that Travis Kelce's Hall of Fame career is affected by a play that didn't count.
Yeah, that's garbage. That's garbage talk because one play doesn't affect your Hall of Fame career.
And
ever.
the most interesting part of this to me that nobody is really talking about yet, except for people in the media world, is what is the NFL going to do about this? Because if you talk about the officials, you get fined. Usually it's 10 grand. Patrick Mahomes not only talked about the officials after the game, he screamed at the officials on the field as well.
He had to be held back
by multiple teammates. Andy Reid came out and said this was, what were the words he used? A
disgrace to the NFL or something like that.
Embarrassing.
This is embarrassing for the NFL.
That was it. So, I'm very curious to see what the NFL does about this because I'm expecting hefty fines for everybody involved.
I would assume so. They're not anybody less just because they've been the poster child for the past, 2-3 years.
And you know what? A lot of Chiefs haters, and I can't say I'm a stereotypical Chief hater. I hate the Chiefs when the Bills play the Chiefs, but I'm not a stereotypical Chiefs hater. And people are saying the way Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid kind of worded this kind of makes it seem like, okay, it's a big game. We get the call because they usually give us a warning in these big moments. What were we talking about yesterday? The fact that this isn't Little Loop football. This is the NFL.
You need to know where you are and where you're lining up, period. This is your job. You get paid millions of dollars to know your job. And, last year, I would have said this was a valid complaint.
Called once.
One call. So that would have been a valid complaint. And this year, no, you said that we discussed this earlier too, that they've called it at least 11 times.
Minimum. So the fact that Andy Reid wants to come out and say, I've never seen anything like this. Okay, well, maybe you need to be paying more attention, right? Maybe he's having that problem that Jaguars head coach had. I forget his name already. The one that said, who's that 99 guy? He's pretty good, referring to Aaron Donald. That's what it's reminding me of right now. But at the end of the day, the Buffalo Bills came out with the victory. That's what matters. That's what the story should be. Do you know what seed the Bills are in the AFC right now, Mike?
No, I don't. Sadly.
Do you want to take a guess?
I don't. I don't want to take a guess. I know they're behind quite a few people.
I want to hear your guess before I tell you.
What seed? They're not seeded, technically.
Technically, they're not, but what place they are in the AFC?
10th.
11th. You were close. The Bills are 11th in the AFC. And just to go over the records here, obviously you have the Ravens at the 1 seed, 10-3, Dolphins 2, Chiefs and Jags follow. The wild card spots are owned by the Browns, the Steelers, and the Colts. Behind them is the Texans just on the outside, the Broncos, the Bengals, and then the Bills at the 11. So what needs to happen, right? What needs to happen for the Bills to get in? It's pretty simple. It's pretty simple. Either you win out from here and you hope that either the Steelers, the Colts, or the Browns lose one. Is it likely that one of those three teams is going to lose in the next couple weeks? Most likely. It's probably going to happen.
Right.
The problem becomes when Buffalo loses a game because this week is a tough contest against the Dallas Cowboys, who have been on a hot streak this entire season, it seems like. It's going to be a very tough test for the Buffalo Bills. So if you lose that game, then it becomes even harder because what happens with those teams that are tied with you at 7-6? The Texans, the Bengals, the Broncos. If they win, what happens? And then you also have the fact that Kansas City is in trouble of losing the 1 spot to the Broncos. And then Kansas City falls into the what? Imagine if Kansas City missed the playoffs.
That would be fantastic if the Broncos took. I might go as far as saying I'll never make fun of Russell Wilson again, but it's unlikely, so I may not go that far.
I gotta tell you, man, he had a beautiful touchdown pass to Courtland Sutton. It was amazing. Courtland Sutton was like getting his hand held in the end zone, and he made a one-handed touchdown. Denver Denver looks good, man. Let's talk a little bit about this past week in the NFL, Mike. One of the craziest weeks of the season. We had 2 games go scoreless through at least one half. The Minnesota Vikings and Vegas Raiders game finished at a score of 3-0. Imagine being at that one.
Amazing. I've been to those games.
Yeah.
I've been to those games where like Browns Bills
But not-
back in the day.
But not in 2023, man.
Oh.
Not in 2023. You saw C.J. Stroud enter concussion protocol, and the Jets ended up taking the win there. The Detroit Lions showed that they're still the Detroit Lions, right? They showed us that even though we predict them every week, it doesn't make them invincible.
Unbelievable, the Lions. I can't believe them. I don't know if I want to pick them again for the rest of the season.
Yeah, we're going to have to see who they face. The Bucks-Falcons game still irks me, man. I feel like the Falcons deserved it. Drake London, 10 receptions, 172 yards. And at the end there, the Bucks steal it. The Falcons did have a chance. He did have a chance at the end, but it didn't end up reaching the end zone. That's a problem for me. I don't like when you're out of timeouts. There's only so much time left. Throw it to the end zone, please. There's nothing worse than being tackled short of the end zone on a play like that.
Yeah, that's awful, man. I hate to see it.
Baltimore Ravens, LA Chargers goes into overtime, and we see another punt return touchdown in overtime to end the game.
That was wild, man. Like so close to being out. He broke like 17 tackles.
Yeah,
It was like,
he's stumbling for 15 yards. I watched him talk after the game, and he said, I was going to go down, but I'm like, hey, you got this far. You got to keep going, man. You got to keep going. So very, very interesting games throughout the NFL. If you guys aren't aware, of course, we do our KellyCast predictions here on this channel each and every week. Week 15 going to be happening soon, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for more from myself and Mike. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please, again, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share. Tell your friends, your neighbors, your enemies, everybody. We had fun today, right, Mike?
I think so. I think I had a little fun.
A little bit.
A little fun.
I think it's good to take this in moderation because the Bills need to keep winning for us to remain happy. I'm
not religious, but
I'm sorry that I ruined your life.
You did.
Oh yeah, and your bar top. We'll see you guys next time, and as always, we leave